So Rick Carlisle has the 15th most wins in NBA history.
He has the most for Mavericks history, right?
He does have the most for the Mavericks.
I assume Dick Motta's second. Am I wrong about
Dick
that?
Dick Motta is actually third. He is 10 behind Don Nelson.
Okay.
Who's Avery Johnson?
He is fourth.
All right.
Rick Carlisle has 555 wins. Don Nelson has 339. Dick Motta has 329. And Avery Johnson has 194.
I think Garfield Hurd has like 7, and he coached the whole season.
So Avery Johnson does have the second most playoff
Quinn
wins.
Buckner.
So Rick Carlisle was with the Mavericks for 13 years. Obviously, he won the championship here, and he has the most wins. And I was like, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then I saw this other stat that I was like, that is not awesome. In 13 years, the Mavericks made the playoffs 9 times and lost in the first round 7 times.
Okay.
That means Rick Carlisle was here for 13 years, and they got out of the first round twice.
We beat San Antonio and Portland in those first rounds.
Yeah. And
then lost to Denver after beating San Antonio.
And so you won the championship, which is clearly and always will be amazing. But that's why I was kind of curious of the legacy of Donnie's been here for so long. Rick was here for so long, and they got the championship, but kind of surrounded around there is a whole lot of like, we're solid.
You want to talk about Rick first, since you kind of threw out Rick? Okay. Rick, as far as I know, lost 1 playoff series his whole career in Dallas that he was favored to win. And that was against San Antonio when they were a 2 seed, because he wasn't part of, obviously, that was Avery Johnson, the 1-8 situation. So literally, for me, I look at Rick Carlisle and I say, he only disappointed 1 time in the playoffs where they were a favorite to win a series and they lost. Besides that, unless he was picking the players, and I don't know how much, I'm not part of those meetings. I assume it's way more Mark Cuban and Donnie Nelson, which is another discussion.
Yes.
I think Rick overachieved here. He was given for a 5-year period 1-year players. Hey, you have 1 year to get Chris Kaman right. You have 1 year to get Elton Brand right. You have 1 year to get OJ Mayo right. You have 3 whole years with Monte Ellis, who the organization didn't even want. And we're like, crap, nobody wants to play here. Just give money to Monte.
Did he have to try to overachieve because he kept players from coming here? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have a survey.
Wow. Are you a Rick hater?
No. Not at all. Not at all. But I do think we need to address this. You know, like months ago, we talked about the idea that like black players don't want to come to the Mavericks because they think that this is like a racist city, or maybe there's some racist components in the organization or whatever. You see this enough. I don't have a survey of NBA players, but sometimes I do wonder if it's true. Did he drive away certain players, or did certain players never want to come here because of him? Now, I don't have it like a plethora of examples. Like, I can't tell you that, LaMarcus Aldridge was going to come here if it weren't for Rick Carlisle or whatever. I am just curious if you think that it's part of his legacy at all.
Because you don't want to be great. That's the only reason that I would say.
Because I don't want to be great.
If you don't want to go play for Rick, it's because you don't want to be great.
Gotcha.
You don't want a coach that's going to drive hard and
some don't, right?
Yeah, and probably be more of more in control of what's going on than any other coach, and you want to find a place where it's just nice and easy for you. That's what I think of Rick Carlisle is. I think that's everything he's doing is trying to pull the best out of you, but not everybody wants to give that.
I think he's the greatest coach in Mavs history. I think that's easy, honestly. I mean, the Mavs have a very bad history. Let's just be honest. Just like, hey, I was part of the Rangers. My dad was part of the Rangers. The Rangers have a very bad history when it comes to major league franchises. The Mavericks have a very bad history when it comes to NBA franchises. You know, the Cowboys are different. As bad as they've been, they're one of the greatest franchises in NFL history for the time that they've been a part of it. But when I look at Rick Carlisle, I think for the most part, he got the most out of the talent that was given to him. Did he make mistakes along the way? I think he did.
Which is only fair. It's 13 years.
Yeah, and like, look, he didn't want the Greek Freak. Dirk didn't want him. Rick Carlisle didn't want him, and Mark Cuban, the main man at the time, didn't want him. It was Donnie Nelson, which we'll get into in a second, who really wanted the Greek Freak and who saw greatness out of him. From what I understand, there were times where Rick Carlisle would put major input into, I want Justin Anderson. And I don't know if it was just because he was from the University of Virginia, because that's where he went to school, or I really want that dude Jared Cunningham, or I really want, Mo Ager. I don't know. And I don't think Mo, I think that was more Avery Johnson. But like, there are times where I think Rick made major opinions on amateur players that were really wrong and really bad opinions on those. So I will give him some of that blame, but when for a 4 or 5 year period from 2014 to 2018, you said, we're going to only sign guys to 1 year contracts. So they have, there's no encouragement at all to actually commit to this franchise or to commit to this coach. It's about, you need to get what you need to get in this one season because you weren't good enough to get a multi-year contract. So come here, play for us, have zero commitment to this franchise because we have zero commitment to you. And I think that's very tough to coach that way, to just have guys under 1 year contracts to try to max out another free agent player that's never going to come here. And maybe you can put a little bit on Rick. I'm not saying you can't, but I wouldn't. I would put they don't want to come here because you're not good at basketball.
I think you might say, well, what about all the rest of the years? But I will say for the 1 year period of 2011, Kevin, you cannot lose sight of what happened. And that is, you won a championship and you saw a team respond to Rick Carlisle like I've never seen a team respond to a coach. In that, I really did. I would tell you, I think he has trigger words that in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, he says whatever it is. He's got these psychologists that have gone in there and trained these guys and conditioned them where he just says some trigger word and they just turn it on. And that's what his legacy for me will be, that championship run. All these little fine details that grew with that group, that's going to be what his legacy is to me more than anything else that happened outside of it, because we don't have a championship aside from his.
Sure.
That's all that this franchise has to lend its idea. And we lost a championship with another coach.
If that's the case, then what do you think is the breakdown of people that are sad that he's gone or not? Because
50-50 at this point, but I would wish this is what I'd wish. And it goes back to our first segment, which was a while ago. If he wasn't good enough, then say he wasn't good enough the day after you lose in the playoffs. Don't say he's great.
Yeah.
An hour after you lose, he's the best thing we have here, and then you get rid of him a week later and say, well, we're going to get better. You told me, Mark Cuban told all of us, and I do believe him I know he was lying his butt off on Twitter about this is total BS. He's just trying to protect his organization because that thing looks really bad and it's really truthful, and it probably hurts to get that truth out in the public. But I do believe he was keeping Rick Carlisle for another year, and maybe it's best the Mavericks do move on. We'll find out over the next couple of years. But Mark Cuban did not want Rick Carlisle gone after they lost to the Clippers. He was 100% committed to Rick Carlisle being here, working under Vegas Bob.
When Jerry Jones said Jason Garrett will find another head coaching job in a heartbeat, I don't think anybody at the station or in DFW thought that Jerry was right. Right?
Yeah.
When he said that, we all kind of went, what?
Agreed.
If Mark Cuban was to say that about Rick Carlisle, I think everybody agrees.
Sure.
Because there's no doubt that Rick Carlisle is one of the top 3 respected coaches in the league, and that has to do with not just what he does on the court, X's and O's and all that, but that dude was head of coaches committee. He's a very well respected coach among the group, and I do think that that's the other part of it is you lost a good coach, and I still think he can be a good coach elsewhere. It's just he has to be able to do a lot of things on his terms that were not given to him as far as power in our understanding over the last few years.